Hello, and welcome to the Random Podcast, the podcast where we talk about random and dumb things. I'm Tyson, and I'm all by myself today. We keep recording these late at night on Thursday, the day before our episodes are supposed to come out, and we're never prepared. So I didn't even get Connor or anyone else on this episode. So this is our very first solo episode. I'm sorry, I'll try to prepare better next time, but it's all me today. But if you're wondering where Connor went, Connor has a new podcast that he made all by himself. It's called The Dagger of Hope on Spotify and possibly Amazon Music. Connor created The Dagger of Hope to be more of a specifically Christian-based podcast rather than the Random Podcast. The Random Podcast it's not specifically Christian, but it comes from a Christian worldview, whereas The Dagger of Hope is specifically Christian. So go ahead and check that out. He already got a teacher interview with our Bible teacher. And Mr. Night has a lot of good things to say. So go ahead and check out that episode. There'll be more coming on that soon. And don't worry, Connor's staying on the Random Podcast. He's just going to be balancing with another podcast now. So if you're wondering where he is, he's probably working on that podcast. Speaking of Random Podcast, we will try to get administration, like our principal and our superintendent and some of our favorite teachers. We'll try to get them on the Random Podcast as well, and possibly the Dagger of Hope. Connor has gotten Mr. Night. We want to talk to Dr. Mears and Dr. K as well, so we'll try to get them on the Random Podcast soon enough. The problem is we've had driver's ed for the past 2 or 3 weeks, and so we've been really busy after school, and so we haven't really been able to work on any podcasts, but now that driver's ed is done, we'll be able to work on podcasts a lot more easily now. So now that I'm done with the updates, let's go on to fun facts. I looked this up. Dolphins' brains are very large in comparison to their body. So if you're wondering what that means, larger animals will have larger brains, but they require a larger brain to control their larger body. And so it doesn't really matter how big their brain is. How smart or intelligent they are doesn't matter how big their brain is. It depends on how big their brain is compared to the rest of their body. And so elephants have really big brains, but they also have a lot of muscles in that body to control. And so they need a bigger brain in order to compete with that demand for brain power, I guess. But humans have a much smaller body, but they have a big brain compared to their body size. And so that's why humans are more intelligent than other animals, you could say, is because their brain is bigger, and so we have a smaller body to control, so we use that other brain power for creativity and imagination, I guess. So yeah, there's a fun fact. If you're wondering what the brain, what that even means, you can look it up. It's how they designed AI, actually. They designed AI after the human's brains. I think rat brains are also very similar. They have the same structure. There's 2 or 3 inputs, and then it goes through 3 layers where there's 4 or 5 points that intertwine, and those points are biases, and based on the inputs will output a different number, and so it goes through 3 or 4 different layers of 4 or 5 different points, and then after that there's 3 different outputs. And so our brains are taking different inputs, running them through different biases, and then giving us an output, which is how we make our decisions. And so that's how AI works, is when the scientists and engineers are testing out AI, when you're training an AI model, you're basically just tweaking those biases in those points so that you'll get a better output. Because if you have random biases, you'll get a random output, but when you're able to fine-tune those biases and tweak what values come out of it, then you're able to get a much better output. And so when you're training an AI model, you're just basically tweaking those biases. So AI is actually really simple. It's just really tedious and really hard to set up, but in its most basic form, AI is very simple. And it's all based off of our how our brains are set up. Honestly, I don't know how scientists figured out how our brains have those inputs and outputs and whatever, but somehow they're able to figure it out. And really, it's just reverse engineering what God created and using that to make other artificial intelligence. And so, yeah, that's really just reflecting off of God's genius, you could say. So, yeah, whenever you are asking AI a question or trying to generate an image, just remember it's taking your text, running it through a bunch of different biases, and then making an output of what that image is supposed to look like or how it's supposed to respond. And so that's just like another thing you can look at in your day-to-day life as you go on from here. Um, since I'm all by myself today, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to call it quits after only like 5 minutes because I don't have anyone to talk to today. I'll try to get guests on after this. We'll try not to have a solo episode after this one, but I don't know. Tell us in the comments. We have the Random Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music. If you don't have one, comment on the other. Comment random stuff. Say what you like, say what you don't like. Please, I love listening to what people have to say about our podcast. That's it for this episode. This is Tyson signing out.